What's up, dudes? Max here, and let's talk about the future of Street Fighter V DLC. As a quick recap, some of you guys might have recalled that the Street Fighter V DLC characters for the first batch of DLC and those 6 cast members were already leaked in the form of Alex, Urien, Ibuki, Guile, Balrog, and Jury. Now, that's a pretty awesome roster, and it actually is composed of quite a few characters that I was looking forward to, especially Urien and Alex. Now, the interesting thing is that Capcom has actually come out and said that the future of Street Fighter V DLC, or any potential future characters, which will be free of charge, mind you, is going to be completely depending on the sales of the game. And with this in mind, Capcom already has a pretty decent idea of how many copies the game is going to sell at the start, because of pre-orders and gathering data that way. For a lot of people that wanted to get into the beta, there's a good reason that the game was pre-ordered so much. So with that in mind, there is also a new confirmation that there is going to be a second wave of 6 characters. Now, mind you, the first 6 characters are going to be between 2016, the beginning of the year, to 2017, and we're going to see approximately 1 character every 2 months. But this isn't talking about those 6 that we already know about that were actually within the game's files. This is talking about 6 more that are coming after that, increasing the roster by 12 on top of the already existing, I believe it's 18 character roster. So at this point, Street Fighter V will have about 30 characters by the end of 2017. Now, the interesting thing is that we already had a video talking about the top 5 characters that I wanted to see personally in Street Fighter V, and I'm very happy that a couple of them made it in, but there's very obviously some that did not make it, and I don't think are going to make it, based on how the game is ramping up right now and the characters that are becoming available through DLC. But I didn't want to make this video specifically about more characters that Max wants to see in the game. This video, I think, needs to discuss the characters that have to be in Street Fighter. The characters that are kind of demanded to be in the game, that so many people are requesting that it feels kind of weird that they're not even there. I hope that makes sense to you guys. These are kind of legacy characters that hold a huge candle to Street Fighter and its entire legacy, that I feel that they kind of have to be there. So let's go over this quick list. There's 6 characters, and the Capcom representatives have said that in the second DLC pack you're probably going to be seeing some more new fighters, because the first DLC pack, since we know all of them already, they're all returning characters from Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 3, and Street Fighter 2. But this one, I'm assuming, is going to have 2 brand new characters that they're going to add to the roster on top of the already existing new characters in the game. And we're going to see most likely 4 or 5. I highly doubt it's going to be 5 with 1 new character. I think it's going to be 4 returning characters with 2 brand new characters. And the 4 characters is the one I want to talk about. What are 4 characters that you can look at amongst the Street Fighter pantheon of rosters between the Alpha games, Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 2? Which 4 characters are up there that you would think would be important enough to include? The 4th spot might become as a shock to you, because in any of these characters I don't consider myself to be a huge fan of. The number 4th spot, I think, belongs to Dan. Now, Dan is an incredibly important character in terms of the lore of Street Fighter, or how critical he is as a gameplay factor. He is very popular. It's kind of weird how popular Dan is and how some people connect with this character and how goofy fun he can be, because ever since Dan has appeared in a Street Fighter game which started in the alphas, he became pretty freaking popular, and I'd be kind of shocked if Street Fighter V didn't take advantage of this kind of as soon as possible. The 3rd spot goes to another Street Fighter Alpha mainstay, who's potentially the most popular character that ever appeared in a Street Fighter Alpha game, which was resonating from that one. She came from it, and it's Sakura. I think Sakura is a very important character. She kind of represents a lot of what the Alpha games are. It'd also be very cool to see her age in some way. Once again, I'm not a huge Sakura fan, but I know that a lot of people really like this kind of character archetype, like the schoolgirl type of character, the one that wants to become powerful, wants to be somewhere in their life, and she's kind of similar to Dan, and they're kind of related in the story. The next one is such a legacy character that I'm shocked that Vega took his place, and it's Sagat. Now, Sagat is heavily represented throughout Street Fighter imagery. He's got this huge type of like lore thing with Ryu. Ryu gives him the scar that's on his chest. The amazing showdown image of Sagat looking down on a younger Ryu, of this small man that has no chance of beating this giant hulk of a Muay Thai monster. But somehow Ryu overcomes, and that's like the best part of these games. I think Sagat's really important. He's one of the better of the overall like championship edition bosses, and I think is very popular amongst fans as well, and is very much like, dude, that guy is Street Fighter, like I feel he is. Alongside the one character that is more obvious than them all, which is more shocking than anything that he is not in the roster right now, and I think it's a statement that Capcom is saying we really don't want to put a lot of Shotos in this game, and of course, it's Akuma. You can actually tie the Shoto connection to many of these other characters because Dan, Sakura, Sagat, and Akuma kind of share Shoto attributes between all of them. Of course, Sakura, Dan, and Akuma are naturally Shoto-type characters, while Sagat pretty much throws fireballs. He has an uppercut, he doesn't have a Tatsu of any kind, but he has similar style moves. The knee could be considered a Tatsu, and I think that they were trying to avoid this stuff. But Akuma is more popular than potentially Ryu or Ken. And that's what's shocking to me, that Akuma did not make it into the initial roster. He was even included in the Street Fighter IV vanilla version, where he was actually not like a mainstay character amongst the initial top 16 roster. He was like a hidden character that you had to unlock somehow within the arcade version, and then when vanilla came out on consoles, he was a regular selectable dude. So I think Akuma is a very important character to Street Fighter myth and lore and gameplay. He's kind of a crazy version of a Shoto who can throw air fireballs and do all this nutty stuff. Of course, I would love to see guys like Evil Ryu and Oni. I think they're a wonderful, wonderful take on what a Shoto character can be. A lot more interesting than a basic-ass Shoto character. And Akuma's like right in that middle ground where I feel a lot of people want to see Akuma make an appearance in this game. And Akuma would look freaking awesome with Street Fighter V's graphics and how the character models are represented. I hope that does come true. I hope these 4 characters do at least see an appearance in the near future before 2017, since we already know the initial 6. But at the same time, I don't feel they all will be. I think 2 of them could make it, and it might be Sagat and Akuma, while Sakura and Dan might be put on the wayside for much later DLC down the line. Either way, guys, let me know your top picks for characters that can appear in the second DLC pack, and let me know if you agree with the choices I made in this video. As always, guys, thank you a ton for watching. My name is Max, and I'll see you next time.